Good evening, everyone. You join me here live on the Adrian Show from our studios here in London on WilliamsTV. Now, recently, we have all been seeing tensions soar once again in Ireland and Northern Ireland. This has been going on for quite some time, back in October, November time, even up to sort of beginning of December, has since sort of died off, and now appears to be soaring again following a collapse of diplomatic relations once again. Now, join me now on the show for our first guest tonight is none other than the Reverend George Kingsley from the Church of Ireland, which is the Anglican Church of Ireland based within Northern Ireland, here to give his views on the situation. So, hello, George.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm quite amazed to be here.
Yes, it's good to have you on the show. I think this is the first time we've brought a Reverend on the show before, so there you go. You're a first in
Yeah.
WilliamsTV history. But yeah, so obviously, I mean, this is near your church, I suppose, near the border
Yeah.
of Ireland and
Yeah.
everything. For those unaware, the Church of Ireland, I believe, is based within Northern Ireland rather than Northern Ireland. Yeah, within the Republic of Ireland, it's very much an Anglican
Yeah.
church, a brilliant church as well, by the way. I've been to his church for services many times, so I do encourage all of our viewers to go and attend services. But yes, so tell me your thoughts on the whole situation. What was your initial reaction to hearing that things were going to kick off again?
Well, I have before I became a priest, I was in the armed services before ordination, so I kind of got an experience in Ireland as a King's Royal Hussar, and I saw it firsthand in combat, and I was shocked because it's just not normal things to see most days, especially. But when I was ordained back in November, and I was assigned to my parish duties, basically, as I like to call them, it was shocking because as a parish priest, you're most expected to do Holy Communion, weddings, and baptisms, and all that. And it shouldn't be a parish priest having to deal with that kind of tension across the border. And to be honest, I feel like it should be resolved. And if the government can't set up anything to not have that tension, then the government needs to pack it in and sort something out. Otherwise, it would just be the people who will, and we will just start bringing peace deals and bringing peace across the border and across Northern Ireland.
There is one argument that a lot of people make quite frequently, that the conflict's good for activity. Now, from your experience, especially considering your service within the Hussars, what would your take on that be?
To be honest, there could be more better things to get activity. Especially as a Hussar, maybe working with Ireland, because we don't need to have that conflict with Ireland, because I understand that many people do fear conflict. It's not a nice thing to have, and I could go countless and countless of hours talking about conflict and war, and it's just not a nice thing to have. So if it was my suggestion as a Hussar, I would just say maybe practicing with them, maybe peace operations with them, and just helping the world instead of bringing that short kind of conflict between our nations. I just bring him a sense of peace.
Definitely an interesting take to hear as well. I mean, it also resonates with what I have heard from service personnel before. Now, I was in the military a long time ago. I was in the household cavalry as a warrant officer, and
Yeah,
then subsequently a colour sergeant in the guards. So I
yeah,
have been on operations within Northern Ireland many times before, although I've been out of the services for over a year and a half now. But it's back then it could be quite enjoyable. We did have a similar conflict in Ireland that lasted for about a week in half term, I think, like about 3 years
yeah,
ago, and that was great. But the thing I've sort of heard from a lot of current serving personnel is that this conflict was sort of a bit of fun at first, but just dragged on, and the amount of war crimes and spawn killing and just annoying behaviour from the Irish and unconventional sort of warfare tactics from them just sort of piss them off basically. That's what I've heard
yeah,
from a lot of personnel. Would you agree with
yeah.
that sort of sentiment?
Yeah, I do. Because as I was as a parish priest, it is my job to go into that community and to look after them. As I did get a letter from Archbishop Shepherd, he was supporting me. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it to come to Northern Ireland and to have those peace talks with the Irish. But personally, it is my job to look after people from the British Armed Forces, as well as, you may know, chaplains. They have that job as well. But if they're in my kind of area, I have to look after them as well. And that's just my job at the end of the day, and I have to look after them because it's just that support. And I do understand that it was dragging on. It was dragging on, and it was just so annoying because it was mostly everyday conflict, and you could just hear it, and it was just coming from all over the place, and it was just craziness.
Yeah, I will say. I mean, I haven't been there much myself. I've seen clips and so on of sort of Irish artillery strikes and things. We do
Mm.
have a trespasser here in the studio. I do think I should probably cut the cameras and deal with that quickly. One moment, folks. But this is we're not going to show you the methods we use to remove people from our studios, I'm afraid. But anyway, as I was saying, folks, this is really we should be bringing our cameras back on again. Oh dear, I've just leaked the secret way we deal with things. But I can't remember what I was saying now. Something about the strikes, the missile strikes. Yeah, that looks really
Mm.
annoying to me. You just sat
Mm.
there trying to do things and you just get bombed out of nowhere. And then I assume you
Yeah.
would all die, have to subsequently respawn, drive all the way back, and by the minute you get there, you get bombed again. That's the sort of warfare I think I've been seeing from
Mm.
the videos and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do find it interesting though, because the Chief of Defence Staff, who is of course now the Prime Minister,
Mm.
Ismail, he initially was obviously very supportive of it. Then it sort of lulled, and people got bored of it for the reasons I sort of mentioned. And so
Mm.
he was advising politicians and prime ministers and what have you to just sort of drop it.
Mm.
However, he is the one who's actually been reigniting things and putting boots on the ground. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, in my personal opinion, and from what I've heard from my parish, um, we're not as happy to see him. I mean, personally, we think he should just stick to his military role and let the actual politicians, because what this is suggesting to my parish is that if, let's say, he's in the wrong type of job. I mean, imagine an atheist coming to do a priest job. Like, they just couldn't, could they? Because they don't believe, and it's like that atheist, and it's like that the chief of defence staff is not a politician at the end of the day, and an atheist is not a priest at the end of the day. So it's like one of those. It's just like, it's just not. It is not in the correct position to be a prime minister at the current moment. As being chief of defence staff, he should focus on what he's told from the actual government, and not being in the government and telling himself what to do, basically.
Yeah, I was going to sort of ask you about that as well, actually, but you seem to sort of answered my questions there. But I was originally going to focus this on Northern Ireland, but whilst we're here, we might as well go in depth a little bit about the whole Bath overthrow as a government and so on. I mean, I'm assuming you're coming from quite a sort of critical viewpoint of it, which I'm sure many, even myself, would agree with you on that. That politicians should stick to politics, and Bath should stick to Bath. And work together, obviously, but
Yeah.
and I'm not going to. I might talk about the thing later. I think I've already talked about it before on the show, actually. So, but going into the whole thing within Westbridge as well, because he's not only been putting boots on the ground in Northern Ireland, but also there's been boots on the ground in Westbridge as well. What's your take on all of that?
To be honest, my parish is a central focus, but obviously I do have my opinions on other types of areas. To be honest, I think if you were to put boots on the ground in your own country, in a place where democracy is, there just shouldn't be troops there. I mean, it's democracy. Politicians shouldn't have to fear what they have to do. I mean, what politicians are standing up for is great. They're standing up for democracy, and I'm gonna have to be careful what I say, but it sometimes does feel like what the chief of defence staff is trying to do is become a dictator, and try and control. And we shouldn't have this, because we are a free country at the end of the day, and we shouldn't have to fear this overtake of not having democracy anymore, if you get what I mean.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I wrote an article about it in the Northern Times that sort of highlighted all those exact points you've mentioned. Obviously, me myself being a bit of a rogue politician, as it were, it's being relatively quiet for me as of late, which is a little annoying, but it is what it is. But I think you're absolutely right. On that side of things. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ismail is a great leader from my work with him. I've worked quite closely alongside him back when I was in the Household Cavalry, because he was the commanding officer at the time, and various different levels of officer whilst I was there. But he's great at what he does. Very, very switched on guy. But I don't think that concurrently being a prime minister appointed purely by the king rather than the people, and still being chief of defence staff at the same time is a particularly good way to go about things.
No.
But yeah, with Ireland then, going back to that,
there's
been a lot of talks from, basically my sort of analysis of the situation, given conversations I've had with former Greg's ministers at the time, such as Chocolate, who was the foreign secretary when it all kicked off. He came on the show some time ago, and we talked about this when it was all still sort of a thing. Is that the reason why it all kicked off the first time was that the then Tiersak, Leah NVX, T-shirt is no longer in that capacity. But back then, the reason why things kicked off was she was just being completely just
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm trying to say here, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get taken down by Ofcom, so I won't go quite into full detail there. But yeah, that was what was going on there. So that's why it all kicked off initially.
Hmm,
Then it all sort of settled. New governments in both nations. Michael was a bit gun hurt at the time as well, whereas
hmm.
Sonnerson's was a bit of a wet wipe in my opinion. And then the new government, I don't really know much about them. But what I do know is that when put forward, sort of towards the end of the Sonnerson's ministry with the Social Democrats and so on, and under the advice of the now Prime Minister Ismail, um, when they put forward like their demands for the new government to meet based off
Mm,
their original demands, the old one. They sort of
yeah.
rejected them, and that's why things have heightened again. Now, what do you think about the justifications for, I suppose, the first and second iterations of the conflict?
Well, a conflict is it. It's it's quite a powerful word, and um, at the end of the day, people are are going to get bored of conflicts, and those two conflicts. I have some good friends in the Irish government. I I particularly uh, enjoy looking at Irish politics and seeing what they're up to, since we're quite close in the border. And I've seen both of those two governments. I've got friends inside both those two governments, and I I was generally shocked on how their ministers looked at, um, like obviously you said before about how the defense forces in Ireland were bombing our forces, and yeah, generally generally shocked at this kind of conflict, because it just shouldn't have to happen anymore, and it just should generally just be stopped at the end of the day, and peace should be upon all in this country, because let's face it, we're all just we're all just one big island at the end of the day, and we just need to be united and not like at conflict, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, definitely a strong take there. I mean, from my sort of view, the first round was very much sort of initiated by they had
Yeah,
no other choice given the circumstances from the
yeah,
way Ireland
yeah.
was acting. But this second time round, it seemed to have been dropped, and then they've just they found like went looking for a reason to restart it is what I would see there. Would you agree with that? And do you think that the first time round would be more justified than the second?
Yes, I do agree. And the first, yeah, I'd say that was very much justified. It it just depends on the actions countries take at this moment. I mean, if you do something to upset another country, if you commit something wrong against that country, then yeah, of course it's going to be justifiable. I mean, when I was in the seminary, I went to St. Stephen's College. Uh, college, I've forgotten what it's called. It's been a while since I've been there, but yeah, it's quite changing. Um, as a priest, you see it in a different view, and it very much is changing. I mean, as we said, we're both ex-service personnel, and it's amazing to see what it's like in two eyes. Like at this moment, I'm seeing this in a priest's eyes, and everything that has to do with war, it does depend, because it is a hard conversation to have, and I've had it with lots of people. I've had it with politicians, and it's wild. It's a wild conversation, and it's very hard to talk about because I have seen it in both eyes. Yeah, that's all I can say really at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's I suppose from a biblical perspective, you want to avoid conflict as much as you can,
Yeah,
but at the
yeah,
same time, you don't want, to sort of succumb to, evil forces that be. But I think I think this time round, I mean, there's there's no real threat to the people of the United Kingdom, so there's no real mandate to defend anyone. Well, there is now because there'll be counterattacks and so on. But
mm,
those counterattacks were provoked, whereas initially, um, it was in the interests of the British people. Whereas this time around, I mean, it's died off, and it's not really in anybody's interest, especially a
mm,
sort of bath that's been drained of its enthusiasm for said
yeah,
conflict, and
yeah,
was probably quite relieved that it sort of died when it did. And also, the other thing I've seen a lot of as well is extortionate amounts of people being deployed to deal with about three rioters, and that
yeah,
that really highlights the community's enthusiasm for it, I think. So I mean,
yeah,
would you sort of say that it's something that needs to be put to bed?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, people are going to protest, people are going to riot, and to be honest, it just shouldn't have to be Bath all the time. I mean, we've got the police service, and we need to use them. We can't always just use Bath, and I feel like if we're just always using Bath, then it it then the border is just not safe anymore. I mean, I know lots of people in the United Kingdom are far away from Northern Ireland, but at the end of the day, it is my people who are quite close to the border, and I do fear for their safety. I mean, um, I always remind people of Saint Michael, who is like a warrior, and I say Saint Michael will protect you from this, because he is like the patron saint for war, I believe. I haven't gone into full detail of Saint Michael, but I do think Saint Michael is quite a outstanding saint for this current issue, and it is important that the people in Northern Ireland understand that it will go to bed, and people need to stand up for the issues that need to stop.
Yeah, very, very, powerful take on that. I do believe our studio has just been. Oh God, I cannot air that. All right, cut the cameras again. Yeah, our studio has just been, invaded again, shall we say? Or, it's
Because
been.
lots of people like to see a priest these days.
Yeah,
Oh,
we've had
dear me.
another inter and I don't know, another intruder. I think that's the way to put it. Anyway, we are back. Our cameras are back, I think. So that's the second one of today. This has never happened before. I mean, normally it's probably because people couldn't join for some reason because I forgot to rate the experience. But last time we don't have any issues, but today we will. Oh well, it's fine. And we need to get better security or something. I think the
I'm
next
causing
thing.
havoc here.
Yeah, this is a problem when the group staff ban private security. You see, you just can't get the staff to
Yeah.
deal with it. But this is why we need security companies in Westbridge, folks.
Mm,
This isn't even
yeah.
Westbridge, but it's fine. It's Media House as far as you're concerned. Oh wait, I shouldn't say that. You're all going to come here now. But sorry. Going back to Northern Ireland and things. Okay, so we've talked about the conflict quite a bit, and this interview is going to be a lot longer than I thought because I'm really enjoying it. But going back to Northern Ireland and everything, you know, so from your context, because obviously you're quite involved as
Mm.
being a priest and so on, and the only activity it ever seems to get is from conflicts and tensions at the
Mm.
border and BAF deploying and PSNI sort of assisting them, but only whenever BAF is there. They have to take the charge for anything to actually happen. What
Yeah.
would you think that Northern Ireland is something that's generally being quite neglected in the community?
Absolutely. The I don't understand the government in Northern Ireland because I was originally from England, and then obviously I assigned to be there because it was in my best interest. I thought I was going there for peace and quiet, and clearly not. But yeah, I feel like the government in Northern Ireland needs to step up. I feel like the police service in Northern Ireland needs to step up, and it needs to think of better things. It shouldn't always be the UK armed forces coming to save our. I have to be careful what I say here. Save our. Do you know what?
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, I feel like the police service in Northern Ireland just need stronger training just to disperse those little rioters, because I'm sure we could be doing better events in Northern Ireland. I know myself, I try to help in Northern Ireland. Sometimes I just get ignored and just like, who is this guy? Get out of here. But unfortunately, I'm just going to keep on trying. I'm going to keep on pushing, because that is my job at the end of the day. And it's my job to make sure that people and Northern Ireland are not always fearing conflict or at a conflict, and doing better things. For example, in SOVs, there is recruitment, there is you could be doing plenty of other things. It shouldn't always be, oh, let's do conflicts and this and that, and it's just not all right at the end of the day, and it needs to be stopped.
So, I mean, if we break Northern Ireland down, or Middletown, the game itself down to its basic mechanics, the way it's currently structured, it primarily operates as a sort of military conflict game. There's
Mm.
obviously things there, but they don't really. You can't really do anything else
No.
aside from right. What steps do you think sort of developers or politicians or parties or governments could take to make Northern Ireland a bit more enjoyable and in a peaceful state?
Yeah, to be honest, I totally do agree with you with the military bases being in there, and every time I go past it, I'm just like, does it really have to be there? Can't it just be a bit more smaller, moved out the way, and maybe just something like a little park, bringing maybe, like, for example, over in Westbridge, they have like companies, like you can get money for doing jobs, and it should be like that. It should be structured like Westbridge and not a military conflict game, because at the end of the day, Northern Ireland is a beautiful country. It's part of the Union of Scotland, England, and Wales. Now, lots of people come up to me and go, Father Kingsley, like, what's it with Catholics and the Church of England and Church of Ireland? And I go, there's nothing wrong with us. Like, at the end of the day, what happened before, I understand lots of people can't get over it, and the conflicts now today, it generally, I feel like we should just build a park or have something nice to commemorate the past and to not to forget about it. I do apologize for saying that, but just something nice to bring back peace and just bring back good jobs. And it shouldn't be mainly focused on a military game. I mean, if you want a military game, then build something else. Build something that's for that purpose. But Northern Ireland, they need to get their hands off military and start focusing on something better. Better for the community, better for the parish, and better for something that's good. I mean, I hope to live in that parish for ages so I can make those steps unless Archbishop Shepherd pulls me out, which I hope he doesn't, because I'm absolutely enjoying it, and I want to see the enjoyment of people's faces when I'm about 90 years old and saying, oh, I have to retire now.
Yeah, and definitely great to hear your thoughts on that. What's your current thoughts then on the sort of singular Northern Irish politician? And he's obviously the current mayor of Middletown, Edward Molyneux. What would your opinions be on how he's doing things so far? I believe he's about a month or half month into his term so far.
I believe a politician has the power to say something, but to be honest, in my view, it's the people who deliver it at the end of the day. It's not the government, it's the people who deliver it. Yes, they are behind the planning of it, but the people deliver it, and that's my view. The government can argue, the government can do this, the politician, the mayor, they can say, oh, we can do this, we can do that. And if we try and push for it, then possibly the government and the mayor might get involved. And that's our goal. And it's the people who can deliver that and speak up against. And we just need it at this current moment.
I mean, if I'm entirely honest, I think the biggest issue Northern Ireland faces, and the biggest issue the UK faces, is not even government people or lords or whoever saying no, but group staff saying no to things, whether that's Northern Irish group staff or especially UK group staff. You put an idea forward that's remotely different. They go, oh no, we can't do that because we know best, and they don't really listen to what the elected people have to say or the people themselves have to say. I think that's a big issue, certainly. Would you find that as well from your experience?
Yeah, very much. I'm not really a person to go, oh, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? I mean, but there is a certain point where we need to move on and get what we need. Otherwise, then what's the point at the end of the day? We want people to enjoy, and if group staff are not doing their job properly, then maybe it's time for a reformation of what it's needed at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely interesting to hear. So yeah, I mean, Northern Ireland, it's a lovely place. From we've had not a third intruder of the studios today. Let me just cut the cameras once again and deal with that as so on. You cannot get the security staff.
Looks like having a priest today has brought lots of attention.
I know. I might have to lock the doors, I think. There we go. I'll stick the lock on. It's probably unlikely I'll be interviewing anybody else. This has sort of turned into a sort of an interview show today. I'll probably rename it all on YouTube at some point. I don't want that open Spotify. I want to turn the cameras back on. There we go. But yeah, what can I say? It's I don't know. I find with Northern Ireland, I think one thing that would definitely benefit, like you said, would be putting business in there. But the only issue is with the way things work. I don't know how many people want to put business there. I suppose you could open up and see who comes along. But so far, I think the biggest problem is politicians don't dare do anything exciting or new there with new ideas, and well, there obviously are some, but the ones that have been governing or what have you haven't been open to that, and all the rest of it, combined with the group staff things there, and the laws to an extent, although they don't really have as much oversight into Northern Ireland and so on. But I think for it's been a while we've been relying on conflicts for activity there, and something new needs to come along. Otherwise, it gets boring. That's another thing as well. Conflicts are very fun for bath for a week. It's obviously not real ones. God no, that's awful. But it's fun for about a week or so, and then that's you can't do the same thing again and again. And I think that's what the Prime Minister is trying to do at the minute, and it doesn't quite work. But that's that really. What would you say to anyone sort of aspiring to what would you say to the people of Northern Ireland really, and the politicians and the soldiers and pretty much everyone really, as to what we need to do for the area? What would your message be?
Now that's a tough one, because as clergy, as people, the cloth, as lots of people like to call, it's not every day you're gonna see a priest on TV. Yeah, maybe in those reality TV shows based on priests and whatever you might say, but as a priest, we preach the gospel, and then we say a short message, as you may call it, a homily, a sermon. And what I would say at this current moment is, let's talk about peace. Let's move to a peace. Let's not do the same thing over and over and over. It gets boring, as you stated in your points, and let's do something better to make a better Northern Ireland. I'm pretty sure we're all wanting a better Northern Ireland. And yeah, being on the show today has taught me a lot about how different I can change my parish a little bit. Like maybe setting up a parish council and just inviting the general Northern Ireland public to have a say in word. And if I can have that little parish council at the end of the day, then I'm pretty sure we can go a long way, pressure the government, then they pressure group staff, and maybe we're gonna walk to a future and a better Northern Ireland.
Very, very powerful words there, I do think. Well, I mean, that's pretty much everything I've had to say on the show today, really. This was going to be a sort of thing like last time with people coming on and all the rest of it, but that was actually turning out to be a really, really good, exclusive interview there. So I'm happy with that. And that's answered everything I was going to say anyway. So with that, have you got anything else you'd like to add before us or begin to draw things to a close?
Well, I would just like to thank you for allowing me to come on the show and to express my view. obviously, as a parish priest, not many people get to see our views because lots of people have lost interest in the church. But at the end of the day, we are the church. We are always going to abide by the people, like Jesus did. He was always there for the people, and I just want everyone to know that being a priest is a blessing. And if you ever get the call to church, come to church, and you'll see how amazing it is. I mean, I'm always trying my best, and my other priest friends, definitely Archbishop Shepherd is definitely delivering something excellent, and maybe it could be a New Year's resolution for to church as we have headed to the 2026 season. And yeah, I'm hoping to set up a lot of ambitions, and I'm hoping to set up a lot of goals for 2026 to make Northern Ireland a better place, but to also change people's minds on Northern Ireland, because I understand that a lot of people understand that Northern Ireland is conflict when it's not. And once you see the eyes of how beautiful it is, then that that's it. So my message is come to church and see how beautiful the church is doing and how Northern Ireland is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I can endorse that as well. The churches of Church of Ireland and Church of England as well, all fantastic services. Definitely, I've been to multiple. So it's all within the Church of England server, which can of course be found under the Discord's channel in the UK server, Discord servers. It's linked in there somewhere, I do believe, and it's under the other section, I think, and you can join the Church of England server there, where you can find out about all the services ongoing within the Church of England and the Church of Ireland as well. So I do, of course, encourage anyone to come along to those and get to know the faith and Jesus and all the rest of it. Absolutely would encourage that. But there we go. That's pretty much all I have for today. Thank you very much, George, for coming on.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you on. It's something different as well. It's great to have someone on who's not a politician for once as well. I think you're the first. I think you might be the first non-politician guest we've had on the Adrian Show as well. So well done, making history. But there we go. Great to have your views on. Great to have the views of the people on.
Thank you.
The views of the church. So with that, thank you all very much for watching today's airing of the show. It's been a little quiet, I'll be honest, in the sphere of things. So I'm not too sure when the next one will be. Unfortunately, when you when you kill politics, it does generally tend to kill activity a little bit. But here we are. We'll keep an eye on things, and hopefully I can talk about things again at some point. But with that, thank you very much for watching the show. It's great to have such a good viewer base and all the rest of it, and it's you lot coming and watching it day in and day out that keeps going. So thank you all very much for watching. Do stay tuned for the next airing of the show, and with that, I wish you all very lovely rest of your evening, and of course encourage you all to turn up to church whenever the next service may be. Thank you all very much. I've been Adrian here on the Adrian Show from WilliamsTV, live from our studios in